I'm sorry. I just can't get with that. I know I've had a number of undocumented concussions. I can remember time being dizzy. There was a time in high school I passed out on the field and spent the rest of practice with smelling salts in the training room. There's times I saw stars and continued playing. Am I going to go back and sue Rydell because I had a head injury? No. I knew a football helmet wasn't going to protect my head. All it did was keep my head from hitting somebody else's head directly. I knew what I was getting into as a kid, and so do adults. So enough with these lawsuits. Figure out some other way you can help each other, prevent this, and educate future athletes and wrestlers and sports entertainers of all natures. And let's move past this, please. So coming back from the break, we're going to go over, Pete Prisco did an article on CBS Sports, the NFL's most overrated. 32 teams, 32 players who are more name than game. We'll get that right after the break.
Hey guys, the NFL season is almost here, and you know what that means? Fantasy football is right around the corner. Did you win your fantasy league last year? Would you like to win some extra money playing in a daily fantasy football this season? If so, thedirtcannon.com is here to help. You can get numbers and projections anywhere, but if you want to build a winner for a full season fantasy team, or just looking to win consistently in daily games, then do what I did and join thedirtcannon.com. They have it all in one place, fellas. Whether a bronze member or a silver, they will hook you up. I recommend the silver package. Starting today for the silver package, use my code RDST and you will get a customized 2016 NFL Draft Kit, Draft Day Intelligence, and access to their award-winning lineup analyzer with expert insight and analysis. So win your league, make some money, and take home the bragging rights with thedirtcannon.com and use Real Deal Sports Talks promo code RDST. And for the first month with my code RDST, get $4.99 off the first month of your silver membership.
All right, so Pete Prisco, you know, if you guys love sports, you've read his stuff or you've heard his stuff or you've seen his tweets, or you follow him on various social medias, or you read his stuff on CBS Sports. I like reading his stuff. He's pretty good. He has an article running right now on CBS Sports, the NFL's most overrated. 32 teams, 32 players who are more name than game. And, you know, like I said, I love these lists. I love the controversy these lists can create. I love the thought they provoke. And as I was scrolling through his list, you know, some of the stuff I agreed with. Some names jumped off at me. And some names I was like, okay, wait a second. I don't know if that's the guy I would have picked from that team. But just scrolling through the list. One first name, Arizona Cardinals, Michael Floyd. At this point in his career, and don't get me wrong, when he was coming out of Notre Dame, I thought he was going to light the NFL on fire. I thought he'd be a nice possession type guy, move the chains. The rhetoric around him after he got drafted was more of let's push it down the field with him. He'll be, you know, the opposite to Larry Fitzgerald. And I don't know if that was the best thing for him, the best position for him to play. But at this point in his career, he is overrated. We hear too much about, oh, Michael Floyd. He's going to be the opposite of Larry Fitzgerald. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. And then the numbers aren't there. The production's not there. The tape's not there. You don't see it. Atlanta Falcons, Mohamed Sanu. I don't think that guy's overrated. I think he's pretty solid as a number 3 guy. I know they're going to try and use him as a number 2 down there in Atlanta, but, even then, he's a pretty solid number 2 when used. When given the opportunity. He had a nice little time there in Cincinnati. He put Elvis Dumervil for the Ravens. Dumervil's not overrated. He's just on the downside of his career. He was very good in his prime early on in his career as a pass rusher. Better than most people can remember because he played here in Denver. Buffalo Bills, LaShawn McCoy. He's in a prove-it year for me. He's getting close to 30. That's the end for the running backs, really. Most guys anymore don't play past 30 at running back. And if they do, it's the definitely the downside of their career. He hasn't done much in his time in Buffalo. Let's see what he can do this year. Carolina Panthers, Jonathan Stewart. I don't think he's overrated or underrated. I think he's right about the middle of the pack. Everybody gets excited when he has some of his power runs, but it's not like he goes beast mode or anything. So, Chicago Bears, Alshon Jeffrey. I would say he's overrated. Everybody's got him basically looking like he's an all-pro, and what's he really done? He was a number 2 behind Brandon Marshall. He's been injured. He didn't sign a long-term contract, and he's going to get paid a ton of cash this year. So, again, there's a guy who's got to prove it. Ray Maaluga, he's on the downside of his career. He's not overrated, but he did have some good seasons early in his career. This one jumped off at me as, and it's Joe Hayden. And I don't know if you go and read the article, he explains why he's put all of these guys on here. And I know Hayden had some weird injuries last year, and he sat out because his finger hurt or something like that. And he said he didn't want to hurt the team. But Joe Hayden, he is one talented defensive back. I think last year was more frustration than anything from the player. When you see a player of his caliber, in my opinion, decide to sit out, especially a defensive player, because of a finger, that's just, I don't want to play for this team anymore. I'm going through the motions. I hope something happens. Not what you really want out of a professional, and I get that. That it's a poor show if that's how it went down. But as far as playing ball, he can ball out. Cowboys, he has Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams, I'll have to agree with that one. For the Broncos, your hometown Denver Broncos, he's got Russell Okung. I don't know if he's overrated or not. He's been on some all-pro teams. He's been in some Pro Bowls. He's had some injuries. And I don't see anybody really listing him as one of the top tackles in the league right now. So I don't think he's overrated in that sense at all. And Seattle let him walk. So the Broncos got him at a steal. Overrated, Riley Reif. I would have to say up until this year, yes. They're clearly going to move Reif to the other side, play right tackle this year. It looks like the rookie Decker will play left tackle for us. It's got me a little worried, honestly. I don't know what to expect. I haven't seen a lot of footage. I mean, still photos and articles, sure, but we'll have to see how this young offensive line we have up there really gels this year under the new offensive regime. Randall Cobb, I'll have to say Randall Cobb's overrated because he disappears too much. He can be great or he can be a bum. So, he's overrated. Houston Texans, Vince Wilfork. Again, this isn't a guy who's overrated. He's on the downside of his career. Nobody thinks he's a top defensive tackle or nose tackle in the league anymore. But he had a good, solid career, and you can't take that away from him. Tackle Anthony Costanzo of the Colts. Yes, overrated. He's basically a bust. Julius Thomas. I'm going to have to say really, really overrated, honestly. Sure, he's got big hands and can catch, and he's got some speed. But what did he do in Jacksonville? Nothing. Not a thing. What did he do before he had Peyton Manning as his quarterback? Nothing. Not a thing. Peyton Manning made Julius Thomas. Made him a whole bunch of money, too. Now, hopefully for Jacksonville, Blake Bortles can get something out of him this year. And, hopefully his fingers aren't broken again and he can play. We'll see. Dontari Poe of the Kansas City Chiefs. Overrated. Sorry. He's a freak of an athlete, but as far as a defensive tackle, he's overrated. Rams, they got a tackle. Greg Robinson. He could be overrated. Here's a guy, Miami Dolphins, Mario Williams. Again, I'd have to say overrated. He's had a couple good seasons, but what everybody expected coming out of, Houston in the draft, we did not see. Or not Houston, he came out of NC State or something like that. We just haven't seen it. Minnesota Vikings tight end Kyle Rudolph, he's overrated because he's just been battling too much injuries. If he can stay healthy, he'd be a Gronk type tight end. Martellus Bennett, I don't think he's overrated. I don't hear anybody really talking about him as a top guy. What he's going to add to the New England's offense might be over-exaggerated at this point. We don't know if he's really going to be able to be like the convict was in their system. Safety for the Saints, Jarius Byrd. Yes, he is overrated, but he's also on the downside of his career. Janoris Jenkins got overpaid, but I don't think he's overrated. He's a solid corner. The Jets, Ryan Clady. Again, that's a guy his injuries have just taken it away. Nobody really talks about him as a top tackle anymore. Marcel Reese of the Raiders, the fullback. I'd say he's probably one of the top 5 fullbacks. I don't really know if he's overrated either. That's what I love about these lists. I can go through them and talk with anybody about them, and we can just debate. Obviously, I'm not agreeing with Mr. Prisco about his list, but that's the beauty of it. Philadelphia Eagles, Jason Peters. He's pretty average. So, considering that a lot of people think he's one of the top tackles in the league, yeah, a little overrated there. Lawrence Timmons, a lot of hype coming out, but really, I don't know that he's overrated in any way. He's kind of a run-of-the-mill type defender, which maybe you don't expect that from Steelers linebackers. You expect greatness, right? San Diego Chargers, Orlando Franklin. He was overrated years ago and got overpaid by the Chargers. He's no good. He should just go back to Canada. No offense, Canada. San Francisco 49ers, Navarro Bowman. I don't think he's overrated at all. I think he needs more of a team around him. Everybody forgets San Francisco, they lost a lot of talent on that side of the ball over the last 2 seasons. And he came back from a pretty devastating injury to be able to play what I consider a great season last season. So, again, not in my mind. Cam Chancellor, yes, overrated as a safety. He's more of a very long linebacker. Sure, he can hit. He's not the best cover guy, and he's not a top 3 strong safety in the league, in my opinion. The tight end from the Buccaneers, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Again, there's been a lot of hype around him, but when you see the pundits talk about the top tight ends, his name doesn't come up. So I don't know that he's really overrated. DeMarco Murray, definitely overrated of the Tennessee Titans. He is a system guy. He was a system guy at Oklahoma. He's been a system guy in the NFL. A bad system, you get nothing out of him. A good system, you get good games out of him. And finally wrapping up his list with the Redskins pick, or his pick for the Washington team, Josh Norman, the DB. At this point, yeah, you got to say he's overrated. What's he really done in his career? He had a good season on a great defense last year. Coming out of Eastern Carolina, let's see where he gets to before we give him all the dues based on what happened last year, shall we? So, again, I love these lists. I love being able to debate them. I love when people respond to me and have something to say. I love having conversations with people about them. These lists are great. I'm going to be giving some lists here over the next few weeks before the NFL season starts. In fact, kickoff is a mere 50 days away. We have preseason games here in about, 3 weeks now. So I'll be giving some lists out. I'll be doing my preseason predictions. Who's going to win the division, Super Bowl combatants, things like that. And I'll have a couple different versions, obviously. I'm going to have a version where, yes, the Detroit Lions are going to win. It's going to be my dream version. And then I'll have, a more realistic version where I'll keep it real and make it best team, best players, how I see it breaking down minus injury throughout the season. We'll pick division winners. We'll do all that kind of stuff. So look forward to that coming up. One thing, apparently, that our NFL players were almost kept from looking forward to, or the opportunity of getting to, was being on the show Ballers. And I don't know if you guys watch Ballers. I haven't gotten a chance to watch Ballers. I do not have HBO. But from what I've read and what I've seen and heard about the show, it's a great show. Denver Bronco, Washington Redskin Mark Schlereth is going to be a regular on the show this year. He works ESPN, of course. He also works here on 104.3 The Fan here in Denver. Great show. Stareth and Evans in the morning, or